This is Eric from Unicycle, and we have our Sur-Ron bikes behind us, which we have ridden the hell out of. And Sur-Ron on our last shipment gave us both RST forks and Fast Ace forks. And to the pre-order customers, we decided to send them the RST forks because we thought it was a clear upgrade. Right now we're offering anybody with RST forks can send them back, and we'll trade them for the Fast Ace forks, even though both the Fast Ace bike and the RST bikes were in the photos and we didn't specify which fork the bike came with. But we're lucky enough here at Unicycle to have both motorcycle experts, that would be Jackson, and bicycle experts. This is our top bike mechanic Kyle on staff. So we're able, and we ride the hell out of these bikes, and we know the difference and the pluses and the minuses between the RST fork and the Fast Ace fork. And we're going to talk about that and what makes which fork the better fork, and they have pluses and minuses. But keep in mind, this is an affordable fork and a very affordable motorcycle where you could spend a lot of money for. Here's Luke's famous bike with a $1,700 Fox fork. The fork cost almost as much as the entire Sur-Ron motorcycle, and I think these forks perform pretty well, but not that well. So leave it to Jackson.
All right. So as far as the RST fork goes, it's a conventional fork versus the Fast Ace, which is an inverted fork. The conventional forks are typically a bit more rigid just because they have this cross brace in the middle, so it doesn't rely solely on the through axle to provide its torsional stability. Both of these forks have compression and rebound adjustment. The RST fork is a coil spring, whereas the Fast Ace is an air spring, top and bottom air spring. They seem to perform pretty similarly. Neither of us can really say one is better than the other as far as off-road ability and on-road tracking and ride feel. So the only major differences seem to be that the RST is a bit more durable, being a coil spring, and the Fast Ace fork is a bigger fork and seems to have bigger bearings and or bigger stanchion bearings, and being inverted looks more like a traditional motorcycle fork, like you'd find on a modern dirt bike.
Okay, Kyle, do you have?
With this one having a coil in it, if you wanted to change the spring rate at all, you'd have to actually take it apart and change the spring out. Whereas this one just uses an air spring, so you can adjust it, in just a couple minutes with a shock pump. The thing about air shocks is they do need to be aired up every now and then. Same with tires and anything that requires air pressure. One thing we did notice that because this is an upside down fork or an inverted fork and it doesn't have that little cross member there is much more flex in the fork itself, and that's just the inherent nature of upside down.
Can you show it to
forks.
us, Jackson, the play? And
Yeah, so on the RST fork, you need to do the usual. You hold the wheel and come around to the side here. So you can turn this fork, and you can see there is flex. There's, maybe at the handlebar end, me pushing and pulling on it, you're seeing like maybe 2 inches of flex. On the Fast Ace fork, with the same piece, even with the smaller Supermoto wheel on it, which gives me less leverage to work with, you very easily get that 2 inches, and if you want, you can even push it further. You go maybe 4 inches of deflection. You can see how much flex is happening in the stanchions here. So that basically will manifest itself as a little more nervous tracking when you're in a corner. It won't feel settled because the front wheel will be affected and its steering angle will be affected by bumps and road conditions a little more. That being said, both bikes feel great to ride. And so the flex that you do see there doesn't seem to affect it in a huge way, although we haven't put a high-end fork on one yet and ridden it, so we'll find out in a bit.
can you feel the cushion difference between the Fast Ace and the RST?
Yeah, so both are fully adjustable. Stand up here. You can, if you crank the, oh, come on, close it Where's the rebound on this guy, or is it screwdriver clickers?
Yeah, you need a flat.
Oh, it's flat blade screwdriver clickers. Okay, so this fork a little trickier to adjust just because it doesn't have knobs. But you can feel like there's plenty of rebound valving on this fork. This one comes up a little slow even. But the stiction is good. It's pretty smooth coming up.
But it's not box fork smooth.
No, not even close.
Okay, and here's, let's try it on the...
RST, same thing. Plenty of compression and rebound damping available to tune in to your liking. This fork obviously tuned similarly, so it's got that slow rebound. You can see the valving actually working and doing things. You crank the compression all the way up, it does get really stiff. You relax it off, it gets really slack.
Right.
Same with rebound. You crank it all the way out, and the fork will respond really quickly. See, it almost leaves the ground there.
So this one, without a screwdriver, you can adjust it.
Yeah.
Or is this one you need a screwdriver? Basically, the RST is going to be a lot less maintenance and probably more reliable.
Yeah, a little less maintenance, a little more reliable just because it's coil, and a little more durable. As far as absolute strength, the stanchions on the fast ace fork are a little larger diameter, and the bearing area is a little larger. So this one will likely be the absolute strongest fork, even though the RST is a more rigid fork.
And it has the bridge.
Yeah.
And magnesium lowers.
Yeah, magnesium lowers. This fork is a good bit lighter than the RST.
Because of the
than the fast ace, sorry.
Yeah. And look at the Fox fork real quick. This is a $1,700 fork on Luke's bike. After feeling those, see.
Yeah, and this one's just like, it's just buttery smooth. Fast, no hop on rebound. Really, really clean, big travel. And the biggest difference between all of these bikes and their forks is if you look at how the through axle goes through this fork, a good amount of the fork's rigidity comes from the axle and how it's mounted. You can see there's a really wide clamp area, and the axle wall thickness is really thick.
Right.
When you go to either of these budget forks, you know, they're running a 2-bolt clamp where the bolts are really close together. Like you look at this guy, that clamp distance is only that wide.
Right.
And you go to the Fox fork, and it's, you know, it's got those big web braces on the side. So there's a lot of extra rigidity that comes with the higher end fork.
A lot of the guys are saying on the forums that DNM is the answer, and I've always known DNM to stand for do not move.
Do not move.
That they're not a great fork. They're an okay fork for the money. So here's a very special
Still a good value
DNM
for the money. Just
DNM
they're
fork.
cheap
It's the
forks.
latest 8-inch fork made in black chrome just for us. You can see the carbon fiber wheel. We could put this on a Sur-Ron. But check it out. It does not have the bridge. And let's see if we can get the movement in this thing.
So it's on a stand, so bear with me.
Okay, let me go on the other side.
Yeah, you can see it does still have that flex. That it doesn't. It's hard to tell because it's not on a bike, but it feels like it has less flex than the Fast Ace for sure. Maybe a little more flex than the RST fork,
Right.
but not bad for an inverted fork.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. That was fun. And we've been riding and testing the bikes. One of these bikes, Jackson put an ASI controller on. Here's a ASI controller, and we'll be giving you the results from this. That's a FOC sine wave controller, the real deal. And we have our own 52 sprocket, 62 sprocket that we made in house on this bike.
For big wheelies.
For big wheelies. makes a lot of power, and it really brought this bike to life. So a lot of exciting developments on the Sur-Ron front, and really, overall, I don't think which cheap fork you got. I wouldn't call them cheap forks. They cost us $350 to $400, so I don't know what they cost retail, but
It's a budget level. It's a budget level Triple Crown fork.
yeah. But I both think they're both good values for the money. It's just what you want, you know. But I think in general, which one do you prefer?
I think the RST, just because it's a little flexy and a little more easily adjustable.
Yeah. Would you agree with that,
I'd
Kyle?
probably pick the same one.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.